Guys, before we get into the video, there's been a concept that's been on my mind for a hot minute since I started even playing fighting games. And that's the concept of an easy fighting game. I honestly don't think that an easy fighting game exists. People will be like, yeah, this fighting game is easy because it only has like 3 buttons and the special doesn't require any inputs. But that's something that always bothered me because, like I said, I really don't feel like an easy fighting game exists. Because every fighting game has a certain mental stack, okay? Every fighting game has mental stack. Every fighting game has player expression. Less player expression now than way back when, but they have player expression nonetheless. And you also gotta take into account the different opponents that you're gonna fight. Like, every opponent that you fight is not gonna be easy because there's always gonna be somebody that's better than you. And I think the main reason why that there is no such thing as an easy fighting game is because of something called the human experience. Because, like I said, everyone you fight is not going to fight the same. You gotta take into account different fighting styles. Like I said, what does that player know that you don't, and a whole bunch of other shit. Like, it doesn't matter how easy you make a game's control scheme, okay? Right now, I think the easiest 2D fighting game out is, well, on paper, is Granblue Fantasy Versus. And that's an anime fighter. But if you're bad, well, no, let me not say if you're bad. If someone is not as skilled as the player that they're fighting, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to be able to play the game. Like, they're not going to be able to play the game if they can't defend themselves. Like, there are just certain concepts in fighting games that developers just cannot account for. And I feel like developers are trying too hard to handhold, if that makes any sense. Like they're so focused on making fighting games easier, but no matter how easy you make the fighting game, somebody has to lose. Someone has to lose. There's always a winner and there's always a loser, okay? Like I said, you can make the control scheme as simple as you want. It does not matter because player skill still has to be a factor. And you also got to take into account of fundamentals. You can't just give a player fundamentals, okay? Fundamentals is one of those things that's actually difficult to it's actually difficult to have, if you know what I'm saying. Like, someone's always going to have better spacing than someone else. Someone's always going to have better conversions than someone else. Someone's always going to have better execution than someone else. It's just stuff like that. Like, and I cannot believe that I'm about to use it as an example. But let's look at Tekken 8, right? On paper, Tekken 8 is the easiest Tekken because more moves hit, it's easier to maintain pressure, because in older Tekkens, if you wanted to maintain pressure, you had to earn that shit. Now they just give you pressure. So on paper, Tekken 8 is the easiest Tekken that Namco has ever made, right? But you also gotta take into account, these characters have multiple moves. There's multiple skill checks. There's fucking, and blocking in that game is actually really difficult, because even though a patch did come out, you still have to hold plus frames. Not as much, but a person can only guess right so many times. And even though they nerfed movement, that means you're blocking more 50-50s. But Tekken 8 is the easiest Tekken on paper. But the difficulty for that game comes from defending yourself and the players that you fight. Because if someone does have Tekken fundamentals, they are gonna beat your ass. They are gonna beat your ass. Like I said, another example, Granblue. That game has no directional inputs, right? But if you're fighting someone that just has good fundamentals, you're not gonna touch that person if your fundamentals are just garbage. Like holy shit, it's just the truth. And developers are trying to account for that, but they just can't do it. They just cannot do it. Like, you can make a control scheme as simple as you want, but the human experience is always going to make fighting games a difficult niche to get into. And that's why fighting games are so niche, because it's just you and your opponent, okay? You have no team and you gotta take accountability for when you mess up and a whole bunch of other shit. And like I said, it doesn't matter how simple you make it, okay? The most skilled player is always gonna win, no matter what. And people hate losing. Like, it's just some things as a developer you just cannot account for. All you can do is just make the game. That's all you can do is make the game. You can't make losing hurt any more or any less. People just hate to lose, and that's okay. Like, motherfucker, I hate losing. My friends hate losing. Bro, everyone has salt, and that's okay. Like, oh, another example. Guilty Gear. Guilty Gear Strive is the easiest Guilty Gear available right now, okay? But it's still an anime fighter, and there's a bunch of mechanics that you gotta take into account, okay? But if the player knows what the fuck they're doing, you're going to lose, okay? If you can't match their energy, it's still, at the end of the day, an anime fighter, alright? BlazBlue Central Fiction, as the BlazBlue started coming out, each one became a little bit more simpler and shit. But BlazBlue is still gonna be BlazBlue. And like I said, it doesn't matter how simple you make a game, there's always going to be somebody better than you, okay? And that's just the truth. So I really do not think that an easy fighting game exists, alright? Because you can make it as easy as you fucking want, but at the end of the day, it does not matter. Okay, it does not matter. Dragon Ball FighterZ, it can be seen as an easy tag fighter to play, but like I said, once you get hit and you have to block, bro, shit's gonna get difficult really quickly. Okay, and that's just the truth. So I really wish people would stop saying, oh, this fighting game is easy. It doesn't matter how easy it is on paper. What matters is the opponents you fight and player experience. That's really all that matters. Like, Marvel vs. Capcom 3 was simplified from Marvel 2 to Marvel 3, right? But like, you try blocking in that game, okay? Defense is never gonna be easy in any fighting game, okay? I think that's what I've been trying to say the whole time, is that sometimes the most difficult concepts in the fighting game, they can't be simple no matter what you do. Like defense. Defense is always going to be harder in any fighting game. You got to account for timing and a whole bunch of other shit. And like I said, all that comes from the human experience, okay? And like I said, as a developer, you can only control so much, alright? And developers are trying to control a little bit too much. Like, back then, there were some things that would happen, and I would be like, did the developers intend for us to do that shit? But then you're like, now they're like, oh, they have their hands on the mechanics a little bit too much, and they're trying to kind of control what players can and can't do. That's why everything looks the same and shit. That was my rant for the day. Like, I really don't believe that an easy fighting game exists. Developers just can't control human nature. Let's just be real.